Hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining our session, Device as a Service today. First of all, I would like to begin by acknowledging our country. So Data3 acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first Australians. We recognise their cultures, histories and diversity and the deep connection to the lands, waters and the seas of Queensland and the Torres Strait. We acknowledge the Jagera people and the Turrbal people as the traditional custodians of myriad, Brisbane, and lands on which our head office is located and where we meet, work and learn. We pay our respects to Jagera and Turrbal elders past, present and emerging. I would like to just touch base on the fact that we've actually had 5 of these sessions. We started with the Surface portfolio and then we went on to the modern management. We also did a piece on chip to cloud security, and then just a couple of weeks ago we did the collaboration utopia, and today is our last session at Device as a Service. We will be posting them on a watch on demand, but if you wanted to see all the recordings, please scan the barcode on the top right. That will take you to our Data3 Knowledge Centre. I also would like to introduce our team today. So first we have Scott Burridge, who's our DaaS solution specialist. He is all things and everything about DaaS, and he will run through our topics today. We also have Scott Gosling, which is our Microsoft practice manager. We also have the Surface Solution team, Samantha White, which is our team leader who looks after New South Wales and ACT. Angelo, who looks after Victoria, WA, SA and Tas, and then myself, I look after the Queensland team. So as I'll be doing the introductions, we'll hand over to Scott to do the DaaS and with Data3 and some customer examples, and then we'll have Angelo finishing off why Data3 and a summary of today. So I'll hand it over to Scott now.
Thanks, Mia. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Scott Burridge. I'm Data3's National Device as a Service Solution Specialist. I look forward to working with you at some point in the near future after we've gone through things today and wowed you a little bit of hope. But look, today we're going to start off, I thought, with a few statistics, just to talk to you a little bit around what we're actually seeing in the marketplace when it comes to solutions such as Device as a Service, also known as PC as a Service. Look, I suppose where I'd like to start is that Device as a Service as a solution has been around in the market since around about 2015. But however, like any transformative technology solution, it takes time for the market to adopt it and start reaping the benefits. Since the global pandemic began in around about 2020, we've seen a massive spike in uptake around Device as a Service. And interestingly, when we talk about statistics, in 2015, the global Device as a Service market was worth around about $43 million. Well, from there to today, and by 2030, it's expected to grow up to $455 billion. So that's a compound annual growth rate of about 40%. And really just, I guess, what's driving that is the subscription economy in general. And as I'm sure you'd be aware within your own environment, over the last 10 years, we've seen everything really sort of move towards this as a service or subscription economy sort of model, where device procurements has sort of been the outlier. But with maturity around things like modern management and the overall transition to as a service throughout the market, Device as a Service has really greatly accelerated over the last couple of years. Interestingly, when you look at reports or industry studies from the likes of Gartner, IDC, Forrester, and so on, only 20% of the total cost of ownership of a device is the device itself. It's all those other touch points that need to happen throughout the life cycle, which is where a lot of the cost lies. And when I talk about cost, I'm not just talking about dollars, I'm also talking about resources, which does, I guess, translate in those sunk costs to costs. But resourcing is a really important part of the consideration when you're looking at something like Device as a Service. So I want to talk you through some of the common challenges that we're seeing throughout customers that we're dealing with, whether it's a large enterprise, a small enterprise, a government entity, a healthcare entity. These 6 challenges seem to be ever present. The IT workload is, I guess, an area where you look at that statistic we just had up before, where 77% of an IT team's time is often spent just keeping the lights on, so to speak, with the devices, which is time taken away from innovation. And with everything happening with technology, there's possibly a better way to utilize those resources that you have. Budget control. When we talk about 20% of the total cost of ownership being the device, all that other 80% of touching that needs to happen throughout the device lifecycle with things like maintenance, patching, updates, and so on, even things like decommissioning at the end of the life, add to that overall budget. Control and visibility, the work from home environment that I'm sure a lot of you are dialed in from home at the moment, but that's here to stay. And look, that's made it increasingly difficult for organisations to keep control and visibility over what they've got where. And when you consider that from a cost perspective, and on average, you know, any device is probably up around a couple of $2,000 to $3,000. You want to know where these assets are, and also from a security perspective, you want to be able to keep track of what's where. Timing and resources. Now, when it comes to actually getting stock, I'm sure everybody's had an experience over the last couple of years where it's been really difficult to get the SKUs that you're looking for. Depending on which vendor I'm talking to, we're looking at anywhere from another 24 to 36 months of the global chipset shortage continuing to be prevalent. So that means we've got to change the way that we're actually trying to procure technology. And the economy is uncertain as well. Having devices is, I guess, key to every organisation in 2022 to be able to function, to interact with co-workers, to be able to function in your job and dealing with customers as well. So look, it's important to understand what budgeting that you do have, and often mountains of capex to refresh devices is not prevalent. And cybersecurity, I touched on that a little bit before. Having the latest technology deployed ensures that you have the latest capability from a hardware perspective with security, tracking what you've got where, and also at that decommissioning point at the end of the life cycle, what do you actually do with those devices when you get to the end of the term? Are they going in a cupboard in a drawer to worry about another day, or are you doing something more strategic around how you're actually managing those devices? Under our device as a service solution, there's 6 key outcomes that we look to facilitate for our clients. The first is around streamlining procurement. So most often when an organisation needs to procure devices, it's a reactive scenario. Devices might be maturing out of warranty. Then you need to go on and get multiple quotes. You need to then place orders. You need to find stock. All of that can be quite difficult. Under the device as a service solution, we provide a digital procurement experience where you have a portal where you can come in, place your orders, track your orders, do things like warranty call handling, also facilitate asset management. And the idea is that that becomes your single pane of glass through that DaaS portal or that digital procurement portal to manage the overall environment. Decreasing IT workloads, I've spoken about this a little bit before, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail as we progress through today's session. But freeing up resources that you do have to do something more innovative than setting up devices, getting them onto desks, and then working out how to securely wipe them at the end of the life cycle, as well as that touching in the middle of the life cycle with patching, updates, and so on, is an area that we're looking to assist, free up those resources to do something more innovative around core business growth, operational efficiency, and so on. Improving the employee experience or productivity, it's probably more of the warm and fuzzy one in the bunch, but certainly it has been challenging for a lot of organisations to get devices for new starts. And with the great resignation, how do you get those devices back, re-imaged and back out into the field, and make sure that your staff have devices that work so they can function? When you've got an aged fleet and devices are, I guess, starting to fail, it really does impact that overall productivity and that experience for your end users. Asset management and decommissioning, it's pretty commonplace for most organisations to have a spreadsheet somewhere, maybe on the receptionist desktop, but how do you continue to manage, monitor and track what you've got where over the life of those devices, and what are you doing with decommissioning? Freeing up and redirecting cash flow. Look, I would say with what I'm seeing with clients, there's 2 key drivers. The first is around moving from a capital procurement model to an operational procurement model. The second is around freeing up those resources, as I mentioned, but the main outcome that we're looking to deliver here is give you flat predictability around your cost structure so that you can plan better and be more efficient with budgeting and so on. And lastly, I do want to call out this is a scalable solution. When we put an offering together for you, what a solution looks like on day 1 may look completely different on day 262, 529, and so on, because this is a scalable solution that's designed to flex and grow with your organisation as your needs change and scale over the course of the agreement. So what you're looking at here is Data3's DaaS framework. As has been mentioned throughout most of the sessions that we've gone through over the last five or so, or maybe 10 weeks with all the sessions, Data3 has been around for a long time, and end user compute has been a key part of our business for many decades. That experience has enabled us to build the DaaS framework. And what this is a really useful tool for is, as an organisation, you can take a look at this framework and understand where you might want to focus in to drive efficiency, save costs and so on. And maybe you're seeing some areas that haven't been considered when you're having conversations with the wider business. Having a clear view around what actually needs to happen throughout that device lifecycle can be pretty important to assist in getting budgeting, resources and so on to enable you to enable the organisation to be more effective through technology. We do conduct workshops around this framework. Often procure is a key place to start, but when I think about steps 1 to 3, that's really where modern management, some of the areas that we've covered off in the earlier sessions, can really help drive that efficiency throughout that life cycle. Mentioned a couple of times here that this is a scalable solution, and what I thought I'd like to show you here is you can see a few different columns here. And as we unpack device as a service, what actually is it? It's a bunch of managed services, it's a bunch of integration center services, maybe some software laid in to give some analytics and so on, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in today's presentation, brought together under a framework. It may be a capital procurement model, it may be an OpEx model. It really depends on what suits you best. But when I think about what we're providing to existing clients today, it's probably more aligned with that standard device stack that you see there. But often I'll run a costing on a standard stack and a basic stack. Some organisations do want to keep some things in-house, like asset management. You might already have an effective system running there, and maybe that's something that will park on an initial outset. But the other thing I want to call out here is that a lot of people think of device as a service as just being a hardware lease. Device as a service is very much an outcome-based solution. Yes, there's a device in part of it, but it just is a cog in the machine delivering those key outcomes that we spoke about before. A hardware lease is purely just a lease on hardware. As you can see, a DaaS is much more about the service elements that are contained within it. I mentioned before that this is a scalable and flexible offering. More often than not, in fact, I think about every client that we've got on, they always end up in the operational expenditure model. But hey, if you want to do CapEx, we can certainly look at CapEx. There's a couple of different options here, as you can see on the screen. And I'll actually talk to you about a case study a little bit later on of a banking financial institution whose initial outlook was, no, we're a bank, we buy money cheaper than everybody else, we'll stick with the CapEx. But when we actually ran the numbers for them, given their residual position taken on assets over a 3-year life cycle, they opted to go down the operational expenditure model because it was purely a lower total cost of ownership and much more effective with all of those things like decommissioning and such built into that monthly fee, which makes it that much easier for you to manage. We also do things like buybacks as well. When we implement a DaaS solution, we can provide a service where we can get you some dollars for that legacy fleet that you've got out there, help you with secure decommissioning and so on. We can also provide what I call a sale leaseback, where anything that you have procured in the last 6 months, we can effectively purchase back off you, bring it under the DaaS framework and put those devices under a 36, 48 month life cycle and give you those dollars back as a cash injection to do something else within the organisation. We also have the ability to do scale up and scale down. Scale up is reasonably easy, but having the ability to scale down can be important for some organisations where you may have projects that are running for a shorter period of time, or you have an unclear outlook on what is going to be happening within the business over the next few years. Having the ability to remove devices in the 2nd and 3rd year without any sort of penalty can be quite appetising for some organisations. So I want to, look, we've only got a short session today, but I do want to talk you through in a bit more detail some of the elements that make up our device as a service offering. I mentioned before that digital procurement portal, which really does become that centralised place for you to be able to view everything and manage everything throughout the life of the device as a service. With things like asset management, we actually look to import the legacy devices into the portal. So again, you've got one centralized place to come and view everything. And from our perspective, it helps us have those more strategic discussions with you when we have a view on what's expiring when throughout the agreement, so we can mitigate that global chipset shortage, bring that stock in many months in advance to our integration center, which again, I'll talk about a bit more in a moment. Warranty call handling as well is something that we provide through the DaaS solution, and we'll get into that as we continue to go through. But as you can see, there's quite a few key pieces here of touching that happen through the DaaS portal. And maybe as an action of today's call, if this is something that you did want to take a look at, I do recommend setting up a session with one of our Surface experts, and we'll take you through the DaaS portal to show you how effective it can be in helping you manage that environment. We are also vendor agnostic, so depending on if you had other requirements with other vendors, maybe some Apple devices or some HP, Lenovo, Dell, what have you, we can also incorporate this as a vendor agnostic solution. I should mention reporting, but I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment as well. Really cool dashboards. So when we think about the device as a service solution, there's a lot of the magic that happens right here in the integration centres that we have across Australia, where we facilitate things like stock holding, that pre-provision imaging under a modern management perspective. We also do traditional imaging as well, off a distribution point or even USB keys, depending on what the preference is. And it's not uncommon for us to start a DaaS offering where we're doing that traditional sort of imaging initially, and as a side body of work, particularly when we look at things like the Data3 Deploy Assist, we can help clients with funding through Data3 and Microsoft to help them make that transition to modern management, which again, we'll talk about a little bit later today. The other thing that's really cool with the integration centers is that we also hold spare stock as well. So for hot swaps, when you've got devices that are critical and you need those up quickly, or even when an employee leaves, getting those devices back, re-imaged back out into the field is something that's really well handled by our integration center with a reverse logistics. Often a lot of organizations find with that work from home scenario that getting devices collected from home locations can be challenging. We have a reverse logistic process that works really well to get those picked up and back into the pool. I spoke about magic there at the integration centers. I want to talk to you about some secret sauce a little bit here with the customer success management processes and accountability that we have built into this solution. Each and every DaaS client is supplied with a customer success manager who complements the account executive. Their role is to ensure, and they're actually KPI'd on this, ensuring an optimal experience for you under the solution. They assist with everything to do with ordering, things like warranty call handling, managements and escalation. And one of the most important things that they do is conduct monthly cadence with yourself and your key stakeholders to make sure that we have everything kept on track. During those sessions, we take a backwards look at everything that's happened in the last month. Has stock been delivered on time? Is imaging working well? Are there any warranty escalations that are still open? How many warranty calls were there? How are we performing against the SLAs that we've set out as part of the solution? And also that forward-looking view as well, understanding what's coming up, taking that asset management view that we have to get an understanding around what we need to bring in when, so that we can ensure an effective and optimal experience for you, the IT department, but also for your users as well. Warranty call handling. This is often a bugbear for a lot of organisations, which can be a burden. Data3 looks to simplify this for you with an inclusion of warranty call handling and case management under the device as a service solution, where you can either log calls through via the portal, or if the preference is via the phone, speak to our North Sydney help desk and they'll get that case logged for you, get that device refreshed and get you back up and running as quickly as possible. And if we do have spares cached at your location or at one of our locations, this is also a really effective way to get those out quickly. I mentioned reporting before. Look, with your monthly invoice, you will receive a breakdown of each and every device that you have out there. We can include things like cost center detail, which is really effective for disseminating that billing throughout the organisation, and also to understand, from a dollars spent perspective, what that actually looks like. But a couple of these dashboards that are available in the DaaS portal enable you to have a simplified view of everything that's happening with the solution for you. And down the left side here, you'll see a view on orders that are in place, and it's probably more of a current view where we're looking at orders that are in the DaaS portal awaiting approval. The orders that have been placed, they're in progress through the integration center portal. You can come in at any time and you'll get a view on where exactly it is up to in each step of the procurement and fulfillment process. As each step passes through, you also get an automated notification sent to the user and to yourself, depending on the preference, that enables you to keep on track with or you on what's actually happening with orders. You've also got a view down here that provides, hold on Sam, I'm getting it. You've also got a view down here that provides an understanding around orders that have been fulfilled. In the middle here, this little rainbow dashboard is everything that's actually deployed under the solution for you today. You can click on each of these and go through the individual attributes of those specific models. And on the right side over here, you've got that forward-looking view. 20 devices are maturing in the next 3 months, and that enables us to drive that conversation during those cadence calls. What are we doing with those devices? Are we going to sweat them? Are we going to continue to get them refreshed, or are they simply coming out of the solution? And down here, you've got an understanding around the number of devices out there and what that monthly expenditure is. I'm going to hand to Sam in just a moment now as well, because look, something that we often layer in and that you can facilitate under modern management with a device as a service solution is the Surface portal, which gives you a really great layer of analytics and proactive capability. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Scott. Just wait for this to load. So yeah, as Scott mentioned, the Surface Management Portal is one place for IT admins to see, manage and support Surface devices across their company. So you can access it directly in Endpoint Manager, giving you easy device management. So where can you find it? Within, if you're using Intune, it can be found in the Endpoint Manager Admin Center. So as you can see on the left there, you've got all services and the Surface Management Portals down on the right. So under the Devices tab, you can see Surface-specific features such as device information, support and coverage, important news and alerts, and it's all there at a single glance for you. Under Device Status, you're able to gain insights into your Surface device fleet, so you can stay on top of issues like low storage, non-compliance, inactive devices, non-encrypted devices, and any devices that would need immediate attention. You can also manage device warranties, so you can quickly access warranty data and see how many devices are in or out of their warranty period, or even coming up to their warranty expiry date. When you go into support requests, you can see requests for your Surface devices across the entire company. You're able to view the status of each request, the type of the issue, and the date the ticket was created. You also have easy access to the Surface device name and serial number for added convenience. And these features have all been designed to elevate your Surface experience. That's it from me, so I'll hand back to you, Scott.
We all need one of those guys on a call. I was the mute guy, so apologies for that. Look, so I want to talk to you quickly about decommissioning, an often unconsidered part of the life cycle, but often expensive and can be quite resource intensive, depending on how distributed your environment is. Under the Device as a Service solution, we look to build decommissioning into the monthly fee. So rather than getting some kind of spike at the end of the life cycle with resourcing requirements, and also dollars when we consider the cost of getting a device picked up, transported, the cost of getting it wiped, is often unconsidered. But we look to facilitate that flat predictability, as I mentioned before. All this is built in to the monthly DaaS fee. We do on-site collection, devices are all picked up, securely wiped, certification is provided. Something else really cool that we do that might be interesting to your organisation is we provide what's called a circular economy report as well, which gives you a view on the sustainability and environmental attributes of what's happened during that decommissioning process. Really handy for those sustainability governance requirements as well. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of examples here. The team has asked me not to talk about too many because there is quite a lot of interesting scenarios I've encountered over the last few years with existing environments, but I'm going to talk to you in particular about two specific cases. We are providing a device as a service to a large Australian bank. And look, initially when we sat down and had some discussion with this organisation, they were operating in a rather clunkily manner, I guess you could say, where devices were deployed and weren't replaced until they failed. And we also had they also had the scenario where they were nationally distributed with a centralized IT team. And when a refresh was required to happen, they're actually flying staff around to implement those devices, which did, I guess, cost a fair. It was rather expensive, but it also, you know, did lag and meant that the turnaround time for a new device or a replacement device for a user was often a couple of weeks, assuming that there was stock, which was quite challenging. They are also looking to do a capital procurement model as well, and we spoke about the different options here. And when we ran the numbers, because of the residual position taken on the asset under a 36-month life cycle, the total cost of ownership was significantly cheaper. Hence, they opted to go down that route. There will actually be a case study coming out soon about this organisation, so do keep an eye out for that. But look, what we've been able to set them up with now is an automated scenario with zero-touch deployments required by their IT department. Everything is done at Data3's integration centre. We ship devices directly to users, and when required, we utilise our national network of technical expertise to provide on-site installation services anywhere across Australia. I also want to talk a little bit about a large international property firm where we are now providing devices as service to as well. Similar sort of scenario that they were doing traditional imaging for their devices across the environment. They wanted to really take things to the next stage around modern management to get a lot of the efficiencies with things like the portals and such that Sam was just speaking about, being able to automate those mid-life cycle firmware updates, patchings and so on. But budget was a challenge. So by providing a Microsoft Surface Fleet, we're actually able to access Data3 Deploy Assist funds, which enabled us to help this client make the transition to modern management with very minimal cost to their organisation because of that funding that we are able to provide in partnership with Microsoft. They also had a scenario where they were doing large deployments across Australia and flying resources around. We've utilised our on-site local resources to enable them to get a much more cost-effective and better experience for their end users under our device as a service solution. Asset management, again, was a really important part of what we're providing to this organisation. Given the nature of real estate and a lot of people working from home, being able to track and understand what was where was a real challenge for this organisation. With the asset management that Data3 is providing under the device as a service solution, we've really enabled them to improve that user experience. So from here, I'm going to hand over to Angela, one of our Surface specialists, to round things out for you today.
Thanks, Scott. Here, just to round it up. Okay. So our EUC capabilities. So as you can see on the screen, Data3 has been in operation for more than 40 years. And end user computing has been an area of focus for decades. This is an area of business that we excel in. Data3 holds the highest level of expertise and partnering status with all of our tier 1 EUC vendors, and is consistently accoladed for on the world stage for the work that we do with our customers with these vendors. This year, Data3 has been awarded several partner awards, and most recently the highly coveted Microsoft Device Distributor and Reseller Partner of the Year, beating out over 3,900 partners from across the globe, specifically for the work that we do with our clients in the DaaS solution, which is seen as best practice globally by Microsoft. So Deploy Assist, we understand that changing or transitioning can be very daunting. To help further support you in your modern deployment and modern management journey, Data3 offers Deploy Assist programs. These are funded programs that work to maximize your benefit when investing into the Surface device and modernizing your environment. Move to a little bit slow here. So we have 5 key areas that we focus on. The first being M365. accelerated deployment, where Data3 will work with your IT department to test your environment before deployment. This can also cover some hands-on help and guidance during the surface deployment, so you can hit the ground running. Next area, which is one of our more popular options, is surface training and adoption. This is where we can get either on-site or virtual training for your end users. We found that productivity has improved from understanding technology better. Third, we have modern meetings. This is a proof of concept situated around Teams and unlocking the power of Teams. We have seen this becoming more and more popular since the pandemic, and simplifying video conferencing and collaboration programs into a standardized solution. The next one is Teams meeting room devices. This also is another proof of concept or pilot option for any change in adoption management for all Teams room devices, in addition to Surface hubs. And finally, modern security services, managed security services, where our security experts will work with your IT department to assess and plan the best security systems for your organization. So why Data3? Well, we have an amazing team. We have a nationally dedicated Microsoft Surface Solutions specialist team to support your investment in, as a show of investment that we have with Microsoft as a partner. We enable our customer success through digital content training, roadmap presentations, and technical advice in relation to device selection. We've received many awards, as I covered previously, from a global Microsoft device partner reseller for 2022 and the global Microsoft Partner Plus, Surface Plus partner. The Surface Plus Partner Award recognizes the Surface partner that has brought the best of Microsoft together by pairing Surface PC with and/or hubs with Microsoft modern solutions. And as we just covered, we also offer tailored DaaS solutions that provide managed, predictable cost structure over an end user compute lifecycle. And we also have 3 warehousing capabilities. We're renowned for our warehousing and integration services. Today, we assist many of our customers by holding and managing replenishing devices and buffer stock to mitigate the global component constraints. So in summary, please take a moment to scan the QR code. This will take you to our website, our DaaS website, where you'll get some further information on Device as a Service. We are Microsoft's #1 partner in Australia. Data3 and Microsoft act as one, and we have a long-lasting trusted relationship with them. Data3 have over many years of experience in delivering end-user compute projects to our clients of all sizes and industry sector types. The Surface product family is a range of premium devices designed for the users to securely and effectively get the most out of technology. We can help you on your modern provisioning and modern management journey by our Deploy Assist programs and using strongly developed security and services capabilities. Please contact us to arrange a one-on-one session with you and your team so we can help you unlock your digital future. And thank you. Thank you for your time.